You?
Blake, good to hear from you, man. Good to see you as well. We got a big one in Fayetteville brewing up this weekend.
I know we talked on Friday. I know that the Arkansas faithful are really, really looking forward to this. But I got to ask you with that picture behind you, are you like in a log cabin in the Ozarks over here? Like, what are we doing over here? Where are you at right now?
No, this is the new house. It somewhat resembles a home of sorts. It's not all the way there yet. I just got a grill actually today for my buddy. Listen to this. So you're gonna rip me for this as well as most of your audience, but I have been air frying steaks, Blake.
Uh,
And so
uh
my friends got so sick of
no, I'm not gonna rip you. Look, I've been on carnivore for the last 7 months, and I have done it. It is
okay.
exceptional. It's
Yeah,
exceptional.
I think it's good. All right, well, you're like the only adult male outside of myself that does it. So I'm glad we have that in common. But I've been doing that and sending them videos and pictures, not with any intent whatsoever, other than just annoy them. And they all chipped in like good friends and bought me a grill, and not just good friends, great friends. And they bought me a meat place gift card too. I had no intention of trying to siphon off money from my friends because I was too lazy or too cheap to buy a grill. They just happened to do it. So I finally picked it up after it's in like 2 months at my friend's house. So that's kind of the backstory on what's been going on in my world as of 2024.
Hey, I love it, man. We don't actually. Well, I guess we have a grill. It's one of those hot. What do you call those? The griddles.
The
You
griddles.
know, the Blackstones. We have to go with the Blackstones here. Because we got kids around here. Sometimes you got to pop on some pancakes, some eggs, some bacon.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just how the world works. But I will say, I love that Blackstone. I do.
It's elite. I mean, Blackstones are awesome, and I can imagine Mr. Ruffino being a pretty good father when it comes to knowing what to do on that sucker.
Oh man, we're out there. I learned the hard way. I mean, I'm just going to tell you, trial by error. Trial by error. All right.
Yeah.
Ty, let me ask you this before we get rolling into previewing LSU versus Arkansas. How crazy has this college football season been? Because, listen, at the end of the year here, there's a strong possibility that Army versus Navy has playoff implications.
Yeah, I think that when's the last time that those teams have been viable for potential national
really, the last time we had a world war, ironically.
Jeez Louise. Yeah, it's been nuts. I think the departure of Nick Saban has had a lot to do with that because there's this huge vacuum right now, not just in the SEC, but the rest of college football. Who's going to take over? I thought it was clearly going to be Georgia. Turns out they don't have any playmakers, and they're an underdog this weekend against Texas, which I assume Georgia would be a slight favorite heading into that game. I had Texas and Georgia meeting in Atlanta for the SEC championship. Instead, the Bulldogs lose that one to Alabama. They still got to go to Oxford, even though Ole Miss is really a little bit. I think a lot of people still like Texas this week, and I'm going to take the Bulldogs to get a much-needed win and level the playing field a little bit with the rest of the Southeastern Conference. But, yeah, it's Nick Saban, the transfer portal, NIL. There's a lot of variables, but it sure has been enjoyable. I know as an LSU guy, you look at the Tigers – and you look at the landscape of college football and say, this should be a team very much that could be in the playoff hunt. But you never know with LSU. Talent's always there. I'm curious to see what Brian Kelly is able to do with the rest of the season if they fall in Fayetteville this weekend, which, Blake, to be clear, I think if Taylon Green is healthy and plays, I think LSU's going down just because of the emotion that was sucked out of them after that Ole Miss win.
Well, this is how I labeled it, Ty, okay? Everything that happened from an emotional standpoint, from an in-stadium standpoint, am I wrong in feeling that Arkansas fans are about to replicate what LSU fans did last Saturday?
Yeah, so this is Brian Kelly's first experience in Fayetteville. Blake, I was talking to you this week, or last week, I should say, and I want you to get you up here at some point because I like your experience. Listen, I'm honest about Arkansas. This is not one of the top 5 or 10 venues in college football. It's just reality. I know some Arkansas fans will try and say otherwise. Baum-Walker Stadium is second, maybe to only the dude in Starkville. I know Alex Box is rocking at times, but and then Bud Walton's a top 5, top 3 arena in college basketball. But you've got a top probably 20 venue in college football, I'd say. And it is a chance to be at Zenith this weekend. They expanded it a couple years back, and the only time it's busted 80,000, Blake, is when Garth Brooks was in town. And I know that concert in Baton Rouge was probably the most insane thing I've ever seen in my life, especially when he played that song. But I would say
we were there. Me and my wife were there. It's like 154,000. Can you imagine?
That was it. I mean, I remember texting you about that. It's unbelievable. But I think this has the chance to be one of the more hostile crowds in the stadium's history. Greg McElroy, former Alabama quarterback, said the loudest place he played in college or NFL football was Arkansas back in 2010. That was the number one team in the country. Will it reach that point? Probably not, but it will break some records. You'll see probably a top 3 or 4 attendance this weekend, if I had to guess, Blake.
Tye, looking at this game, you talked about Taylon Green if he's healthy. You said if you had to put all your money if he plays on Saturday, yes or no?
I think so. Pittman kind of made reference to it earlier this week, and I say earlier this week, yesterday, I mean. And I just think there's a backstory with this matchup, and I don't know if you've discussed it yet. Nussmeier's a Flower Mound kid. Taylon's a Louisville kid. They played each other in high school. Nussmeier beat him. And so you've got this.
I did not know that. I did not know, nor have I discussed that. That is interesting.
Blake, I got someone's knocking on my door. Can I go check this real quick?
Yes.
I'm sorry.
Yes.
And this nice lady just came to the door with, I think, ADT and was going over some security perimeters, which I've got some stuff available, but she was going over some things. And yeah, that is, I apologize but I was like, who's knocking on my door at 7:43 at night? But she's going to come back in about 45 minutes. Hey, just another thing to worry about as a homeowner, making sure your house is secure, I guess, Blake.
Oh, no. Hey, man, you know what I have for home security? Ricky and Lucille, okay?
Probably smart. I probably, and it's on my list. I have this list of things I'm supposed to get, Blake, and first off, I need to take a class involving guns. But, if I'm just being honest, but that is on. I'm trying to find this list. That is on this list is to buy. I have a knife next to my bed, but it's not going to do me much good if someone walks in with a gun.
Yeah, so. Glock 40.
Yeah.
You're welcome. All right. So you were saying Taylon Green. I asked you if he was injured, and you said Sam Pittman had talked about earlier this week.
Yeah, sorry.
Yep.
Sorry about that. It kind of right. Yeah, I think he's going to play. I think, again, I brought this up. I think if he plays and he's healthy, Arkansas wins. I think if you look at just the emotion that LSU played with on Saturday night, being in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, being in Death Valley, a place that is just, as they say before every game, dreams come to die. And Ole Miss's dreams continue to die and will forever die, it seems like. They hadn't won there since 2008, which is insane. You know who beat them in 2008? Houston Dale Nutt, who, by the way, the previous year beat them in 2007 when he was coaching the Arkansas Razorbacks. Also beat the Razorbacks in Fayetteville that year, which Ole Miss hasn't won in Fayetteville since 2008. We'll see if that trend stays the same. But, yeah, Taylon's versatile. I heard you talk. I was listening to you before I came on. He's a guy that you can't get outside the pocket. He's not an elite passer by any stretch of the imagination, but as I mentioned, him and Nussmeier played each other in high school, one Flower Mound, one Louisville. I think he really wants to beat him, even though it was a high school football game compared to college. I think there's still a little tenacity there, if you know what I mean.
Oh, 100%. And that's something that I did not know and something definitely that needs to be discussed. Tye, I mentioned this earlier because on Tuesdays I go in a pretty in-depth conversation about the opposite team that we're playing versus obviously LSU here. And what's interesting, man, if you eliminate the turnovers, this Arkansas offense is pretty freaking good.
Yeah, that's what Sam Pittman says after every game, Blake. Said if we don't turn the ball over, we can play with anyone in college football. They haven't got blown out yet this year. They lost by 8 in Stillwater, and they lost by 3 or 4 against Texas A&M. I think it was 21-17 the final. Yeah. So the deal is, like, when, as you said, when they don't turn the ball over, they don't not only compete, but they can win. And they've got a defense like Travis Williams with the SEC roots, playing at Auburn, coaching at Auburn.
Mm-hmm.
He knows how to coach. And I know LSU fans have been very frustrated the last year and a half with their defense. And I don't know if it's that much better. You've got guys coming off the edge. I know they're top 5 in the country in sacks. They still get up yards and points here and there. This is going to be a real interesting test because Arkansas's tackles are not that strong. I say not that strong at pass blocking. Carmona Jr. is going to get drafted. His run blocking is superb, and he's a leader. But him and Blackstock have to improve their pass blocking skills. So Weeks coming off the edge, I saw him run over that Ole Miss running back right before regulation and then take down Jackson Dart. I mean, if they have success on Ole Miss's offensive line, they theoretically should have success against Arkansas. We'll see if Arkansas can have a similar type of game plan like they did against Tennessee, where they stoned some pass rushers that typically have been good all year, like LSU.
What's the biggest thing? What's the most success that you think Arkansas is going to have on Sunday? Well, I'll explain. Like, meaning, you said that you think that LSU's going to Fayetteville and losing. And I think it's a very tough spot for LSU to be in. I mean, I've been saying it today and yesterday, so I guess the last 2 days. I mean, if they win, in your opinion, it's because of why?
Sorry, I missed it. It was if LSU wins or if Arkansas wins.
If Arkansas wins, it's because of why. Why does Arkansas win?
I think it's that defense. Nussmeier, like, I know he threw that fourth down pass. I know he threw the one to Lacey that, cover your ears, Ole Miss fan, or cover your ears, LSU fans, that may have gotten away with an OPI on that play. Let's just be honest.
Cover your ears too. Yeah.
Let's be honest. But he was what, 22 or 41? That's not like out of this world. He threw
22
picks.
51. Yeah, he was
22
worse.
51. Thank you. I gave him too much credit. So this is the same kid that Arkansas beat back in 2021. Now, he was a true freshman back then. Maybe it's a little unfair to pin it on them then. But this game is very much within the reach of both teams. And I think Arkansas just gets the edge of being at home. And I think that defense, while they haven't been forcing turnovers all over the place, really Auburn's the only one, I think the defense will do enough, and that crowd will give them enough energy, as it did LSU this past weekend. Like you said, it's going to be the same type of atmosphere Saturday night. Like, Ole Miss and LSU fans care equally about that rivalry game, the Magnolia Bowl. LSU and Arkansas fans and players and coaches, Arkansas's up here, LSU's like down here. It's not close. There's no equal part of want to in this game. The Golden Boot, what does it get locked up in a closet in Baton Rouge? It's on display in Fayetteville. We care about this game immensely. And that has played a big role because there hasn't been a team since DiNardo that came into Fayetteville less talented than Arkansas. And yet Arkansas has still had either success winning or it's been really tied a good chunk of these games. So, yeah, I like the Razorbacks to win this because of that defense, man. That was a long-winded answer.
If LSU wins, they do it how?
Lacey and Taylor. Taylor's a dog, man. I mean, that should be touchdown. I know he put his elbow down, so they called it back, and rightfully so. But, man, what did he break, like 3 or 4 tackles? I mean, that's an NFL tight end. It helps when your dad is,
a freak show.
Yeah.
Right.
And he's been fun to watch. I love that catch he had against Alabama 2 years ago as a true freshman. And then Lacey, it's just like you lose Chase, you lose Jefferson, you lose Thomas, you lose Neighbors, and they just reload in Baton Rouge. This is what amazed me about LSU for all these years. You had Jarvis Landry and Odell Beckham on the same team back in 2011, and you didn't throw the football. They have always had like a dog at receiver. I remember Dwayne Bowe. I mentioned those two guys. LaFell. I mean, LSU has just had so many good wide receivers over the years. You forget that they lost an NFL guy or two the year before, and it changes out every single year. And that kid's unbelievable. I would say those two are the biggest reasons. As long as Nussmeier doesn't make mistakes, then yeah, LSU's gonna have a great chance of winning Saturday night.
Tye, I look at one thing that I want to get your thought on, because I think I kind of want to bring it back to this. I think the biggest key for me in the week for LSU, if they win, would be if, like you said, that pass rush gets after Taylon Green, who may or may not be fully healthy. I mean, look, 87th in sacks allowed. I mean, I think you're right on LSU can get to him. The question becomes, and the thing that it inverts itself very quickly, is if Taylon Green finds a hole and he gets running, LSU's in trouble because they're going to have to play man behind it. So I don't know if like that's the game inside the game, like whatever team wins that exact battle, they win. But man, I have almost on a Tuesday convinced myself that's the ultimate battle right there. Am I wrong there?
No, I don't think so. And I think it goes under like how healthy is Taylon Green. I mean, it's one thing if he plays, but a bone bruise, it stays with you. A lot of times, depending on the severity of it, that's not something that just goes away. It lingers a lot of times.
Right.
He can ice it. He can work it out. They can have the best doctors and trainers in Arkansas looking at it. And if it hurts, it's still going to hurt. And you just, as an Arkansas fan, I just hope that not only is he healthy enough to play, but healthy enough to be as mobile as he's going to need to be to evade LSU defenders. Because if he's not up to his standards, which I would guess they're going to be slightly down, depending, I don't know his health, then that favors LSU. And if you're Brian Kelly, not that you root for injuries, but it makes your job as the head coach much easier trying to figure out this Arkansas offense than it would have been if Taylon hadn't got cheap shot in that Tennessee game. I mean, what a dirty play.
It was very dirty. Are you surprised that we don't have a pretty firm status of where he's at the current moment?
No, because, I mean, coaches, it's gamesmanship. And I was joking last week. I was like, I don't care if Sam Pittman's wife asked him what the Taylon status. I'm telling every single person I know, he's questionable. We won't know until the game. I mean, that's what I would do. And like, I don't know why. Like, coaches sometimes, and I guess it's also what the player, like, you obviously have to talk to, it's a reach, but like the player, the family, and stuff like that. And there's some of them, it's like, yeah, you can discuss this, and others want to keep stuff in house because they have pro aspirations or whatever the case may be. But I would have told everyone, yeah, he's questionable. We'll find out during the game. And
because there's no set standard. I mean, on Saturday's the last one that you have to confirm if they're out or not. So. I mean, why would you say that he's probable? Because I mean, here's the look. I was bitching about this time on Monday. I was mad that nobody in the press conference asked Brian Kelly if he's scheming up for two different quarterbacks. Now I know a lot of them have Singleton and Green. I don't want to say they're the same, but they have the same traits that they can move and get out of the pocket and things like that. But I mean, there's a very strong possibility Blake Baker's making sure that he's ready for both of them, not just one.
Yeah, and that's, again, goes behind the gamemanship. So you make Baker spend more time on preparing for both than he would if he was just concentrating. If Pittman came out on Monday and said, yeah, Taylor's starting. That's what you do. Now, I'll say this, and I've said it on the show all week, if Malachi Singleton, and I like Malachi Singleton, I like his parents, that was an emotional win after beating Tennessee.
Yes.
You got to have some balls to come in as a redshirt freshman and lead your team on a game-winning drive when you're down. I mean, I don't care if you're at home. I don't care if you're on the road in Neyland Stadium. That is a tough place to be. And he did it. And you could say, well, Tennessee let him score, blah, blah, blah. He still had to get him down there. And credit to that offensive line for really stepping up. But I say all that to say that I think if he starts, they won't win this game. It would be very similar to Malik Hornsby 2 years ago, who played instead for KJ Jefferson because KJ was hurt.
Right.
And that was the Harold Perkins coming out party, if you remember.
Oh, yeah, I remember.
I think he had 2 forced fumbles, 3 sacks. And that's when everyone was like, oh, who is this freshman 5-star that's starting at LSU that you just don't see? It's like Ryan Williams at Alabama. You're just like, you can't believe that this kid is 17 or 18 years old. But, yeah, I would expect a type of game like that where Arkansas's inability to score would hurt them enough where LSU would leave the victor. Now, again, Singleton starts. I'm taking LSU. If Taylon starts and is healthy, I'm taking Arkansas.
Last couple of things here for you, Ty, before I get you out here. I appreciate your time. Tye Richardson,
of course, man.
Hold that line. Who's the best team in college football, or specifically, even if you want to say SEC? Because I don't think it's Texas. I don't know yet.
Okay. Well, they didn't play anyone. Like, the Michigan game was supposed to be the marquee game. Michigan is not good. They've switched quarterbacks since then, so I don't know if that game would be any different. But
I mean, they're on their third quarterback. The total kid's starting now.
Yeah, so, you're just like, when you dive into Texas's schedule, they haven't played anyone. So this weekend will tell you a lot if you're Steve Sarkisian, the Texas head coach, to say, what's our football team all about? We're at home and we're favored against one of the best programs in the last 5 years in college football. This is where we should win. Now, this is where Texas usually loses in a game like this, or at least they have the last decade and a half, but maybe this year's different. I think for Georgia, this is a massive game for Kirby Smart. And things are not going to spiral out of control, but first off, he didn't get a flag for pushing that Mississippi State quarterback. There was no memo sent from the SEC. Like, how do you not do something if you're the conference office? I mean, he shoved a kid. And I'm sitting there. I didn't see it till Sunday. I don't know how I missed it on Saturday. I didn't see it till Sunday. And I watched it and I was like, okay, maybe it's got to be something I'm missing. And I watched that replay like 20 times. And how he has not been reprimanded for that is beyond me. But to your original question, I'm sorry I'm long-winded. I'd still give it to Texas by default. Not because they've earned it. It's literally default. Ohio State lost in Oregon this weekend. You might have said them, but Texas is just there. They're the not last one standing, but they're standing right now.
My question for Texas, and even regardless of what happens, I don't know who wins, but I'll say this. I don't know, like, if they can't go to an Arkansas and lose. Do they come? Because they come to y'all, correct?
November the 16th, baby. We got LSU this weekend, Ole Miss in 2 weeks, and then Texas in a month. It's an incredible home stretch.
That's awesome. Because wasn't it last year y'all barely had home games, like because of the
it's terrible.
Terrible whole month. Last thing for you. A&M. You got to see them up close and personal. I'm going to tell you something. Here's my God's honest opinion. There's a strong likelihood that you can be in that last game of the year with A&M in Texas, and that be they play that weekend and they turn around and play in the SEC championship.
Yeah. Oh, that's gross, right?
I know it's gross, but Tye, if A&M can find a way to beat Mississippi State this weekend, then they have LSU. Mm-hmm. Okay, I don't know if LSU's. I feel pretty strongly LSU's going to split these next two. Either they're going to win in Arkansas and lose to Kyle Field, or they're going to lose to Kyle. I don't know. But,
I've got LSU beating A&M, by the way. In Kyle Field. I really do.
Why do you think they'll beat them in Kyle Field?
Because I'm like you. I don't think they lose two straight. I have them losing this weekend and then winning next weekend. I think they'll bounce back. You could not have met an Arkansas fan that was cheering more for LSU this past weekend, Blake. The whole week I was gung-ho for LSU all week. Because I didn't want them to come to Fayetteville.
Can we tell them our conversation?
Yeah.
When you call me on Friday? All right, just to give some context, you called me on Friday like, Blake, they got to win because we got to have this environment in Fayetteville next week.
And and now it's going to be there because they're top 10. They're number 8. Listen to this stat, Blake. This is the first time in the history of Arkansas that they have had 2 straight top 10 opponents in Fayetteville consecutively.
Really?
Isn't that wild? Like, they played games in Little Rock or they played them on the road. First time ever in the history of this football program that they've had back-to-back top 10 games in Fayetteville. And that's significant. And what the Tennessee win did is there were 75,000 in attendance, and I know LSU's like over 100,000, so for a lot of fans listening, that's not that big of a deal. But you have given those fans that were on the fence that didn't show up for the Tennessee game, it's like we got to be here for LSU. Because, 1, fans hate LSU more than they hate Tennessee. And 2, this team showed that they can win a one-score game, which they didn't do at all last year, with the exception of Florida.
Right.
So there's a lot of things leading me to believe that this is going to be an insane place come Saturday night at Donald W. Reynolds Ridgeback Stadium.
I lied. Here's the last one.
No, keep it going, man.
I promise because I got to go too. But has Sam Pittman saved his job yet? Or what's your thoughts on that?
Man, and they would literally have to. They're 4-2 right now, right? So they would have to lose every SEC game for him to even be up for consideration being let go. They equaled their win total from last season, and they have half their games remaining. They're going to beat Louisiana Tech. No offense to any Bulldogs fans listening. They're going to beat Mississippi State. That's 2. So that's a bowl game. They will win at least one between LSU, Ole Miss, and Texas. They won't lose all those games. They won't finish 6-6. So, yeah, I think he's pretty safe. But why not? Why the hell would you want to be safe? Why don't you go 8-4? Like, they went 8-4 back in 2021. They won their bowl game, beat Penn State. It was 9-4. It was awesome. That's like, for Arkansas fans, that's great. Like, this isn't Baton Rouge where you want to hang your coach for going 8-4. We're in Fayetteville, Blake. You know how happy I am going to be at the end of the season? And as we approach basketball with Cal, I know SEC Media Basketball today, and we're talking about an 8-4 football team, I'll be rock hard. And LSU fans will, like, be calling suicide hotlines. Big difference. Major difference in Fayetteville and Baton Rouge. If you don't have an ED sponsor, Blake, you might get one. You can use that.
Oh, man. Where's Blue Chew when you need them? We used to have Blue Chew on the show. Where's Blue Chew when you need it? Oh, God, I'm crying. I don't want to end on that, but I think it's a perfect place to end it. Tye Richardson, ESPN Hit Radio. Hold that line. Thank you so much, dude. Good luck this week. You know I love you. I'm not cheering you on this week.
Okay.
I am not cheering you on this week, but nevertheless, I do think that Arkansas is a really good football team, and it's going to be a fun game.
It's going to be a battle, man. Can't wait to watch it. And for your listeners that make the trip, hopefully our fans are accommodated and nice, even if the outcome doesn't favor the Razorbacks. Because
I'll tell you this, man. On our national show, Ruffino and Joe show, I mean, we've been talking about Arkansas the last couple of weeks here. Man, they hated our guts, and then when we started giving them love, they were like, hell yeah, woo, pig suey.
There is not a fan base in college athletics that loves you more as a national. And I know you're local with LSU, but when you and Joe do the national show, there's not a fan base that flocks to media content more than Arkansas. And it's a smaller fan base relative to most schools, but it's insane. Like, you say one or two nice things about the Razorbacks and their football, basketball, baseball team, they will love you till the end of time. And you'll get the views, you'll get the clicks, and you'll get all the things that come with it, Mr. Blake.
Oh, well, they got some good duck land up there. I might need to start cheering them on some more. So, Tye Richardson, thank you so much, buddy. We'll talk soon.
See you, Blake.
All right.